Good afternoon, I guess. Just barely. 12:02 p.m. in the Central Daylight Time. Good afternoon, everybody. And we're not live, so I don't know why I always introduce it as good morning, good evening, good whatever. My guest today is Darya Foroohar, who I met at the Insert Name Comic Fest in Minneapolis, though you're in Chicago, right?
I am, yeah.
So yeah, we both drove to Minneapolis to meet each other. She's got two comics that I picked up. I want to talk about Maha, Nassar, and I Need to Kill My Boyfriend's College Roommate. I read them both this morning. I adored them both this morning for completely different reasons. There's definitely a through line, but they're also very different. So Daria, which one would you prefer to talk about first? Do you want to talk about something else entirely? The weather? Do you want to tell me? I don't know. I made no plans this morning.
Um, why don't we start off with I need to kill my boyfriend's college roommate?
All right. All right. This one, I I appreciate in so many levels that the first thing that struck me though is that uh it's become a theme in my life, starting with my wife and her love for true crime podcasts, and then that got her into true crime comics. That's what finally got her into comics, period. Um, and Kelly Sue DeConnick is writing a comic that involves a mom involved or obsessed with true crime podcasts. And what I never realized until I had all of these women in my life tell me is that like the obsession with true crime podcasts is not the morbidity. It's not the, oh, I want to know about that. It's the preparation. It's like in
Mm-hmm.
your head, it's like, this is what I need to prepare for. And I remember the first time my wife told me that, I went, oh. Um, so uh, uh, I'm going to go backwards for a second and say, uh, tell me about I Need to Kill My Boyfriend's College Roommate, which obviously involves true crime stuff because I just immediately went there.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the front counter pitch, but then let's talk about where it comes from because um, I thought it was a really powerful and creative book, and I
Yeah,
enjoyed reading it, and it's on
for
my wife's
sure.
pile now. I mean, not
Let's
officially on my wife's
go.
pile because it's in front of me right now, but it will be back on her pile
Metaphorically.
when we're done
Yeah.
talking. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I need to kill my boyfriend's college roommate was taken. The idea was kind of inspired by the friend of someone I was dating at the time, but really just kind of a lot of men I'd encountered who were very staunchly on the left, but those kind of ideals of equality and like justice, especially like justice through violent means, just somehow didn't compute when it came to feminism and women's issues. Um, and it just made me really angry because it's something that I've experienced a lot, and it just seems like very like hypocritical. And I think I have a lot of rage and anger at that. Um, and at some point, debating with those people becomes a humiliation exercise because you're debating your humanity against you. Debating with someone who doesn't see you as an equal is humiliating because you're trying to prove your humanity. And I don't think you need to debate your humanity to someone who inherently
Well,
believes that you're lesser than.
and I think you hit and this is where I'm going to say I'm speaking as a privileged white male as hard as I try desperately to make certain that like um I think one of the things that you hit on right there in what you said and comes out in the book is they think of themselves as on the left. So
Mm-hmm.
they think of themselves as your ally, even as they're not acting like you're their equal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like this is something that we see with a lot of groups. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, that actually is very much the through line between this and I want to talk about Maha Nasser is like
Mm-hmm.
when you get to that one, it's like, oh, we're equals. We see you because you're part of our cause, and except that we don't.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
um
It's always like people think that women's rights need to be sacrificed for like some quote unquote revolution. But
right.
what they don't understand is that if those rights are sacrificed now, they're never going to be gained back later.
Well, I mean, I and I hope that you don't take this as reductive, because it's not meant to be. I think that whatever level of privilege you are in your revolutionary group, any any level of privilege under that needs to be sacrificed to maintain your level of privilege
Hmm.
once your privilege has been. I mean, I see this all the time with the leftists who have finally woken up to the fact that, oh, wait, this isn't funny. This is fascism. This
Hmm.
this is possibly not something that will. And when you want to talk to them about, oh, then maybe we need to focus on some of the things that people have been trying to focus on for years. And, oh, no, we just need to defeat Trump. I'm like, yes, do you not understand that this is part of how you defeat Trump? That it doesn't work to go back to the way it was before, because that's
Hmm.
what got us here.
Yeah.
You have to do it all at once. You can't do if
Yeah.
it's good. And I feel like I'm talking over you, so I'm going to shut up again.
Oh, I mean, I think, yeah, something that I really was inspired by was like writings by decolonial like theorists. And I just found it really funny that like the people, like the person that I was kind of had in mind when writing like the character of Steve, like he was like, "Oh, you have to read Fanon, it'll change your life." And I was like, "Yeah, I've read Fanon, and I also think that like I also don't see how you don't see that that could be applied to other forms of oppression. Like if
Right,
you think that decolonial violence is justified, then why not violence against men like by women? Like you never think the knife is going to be at your throat, but it will. I mean, I hope it will, because just the smugness on those people's it's just very angry, and I'd rather write about it than actually like kill someone, because I don't really want to go to
right.
jail.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. I personally, I can only get behind figuratively hoping that it will. I don't actually
Yeah.
hope for violence against anybody. Which is why also as I read this, I like for a long time as I was reading this, I'm like, okay, is this memoir or fiction? And then it got to the part where we were stabbing people. I went, please tell me it's fiction.
No, no, no. Yeah, I've never killed anyone. I don't plan to. But it's just
I did.
like,
I didn't think you did.
no, 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 absolutely not. But it is, like I do think that that kind of imagery is designed to make people uncomfortable, and I do
Yeah,
want to make people uncomfortable because that's the only way you're gonna, really think critically about what you've been doing.
one can hope. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
and I think that's also what we run into a lot in the world. What I saw in this book, what I saw you raging against was like, oh, so like my existence makes you uncomfortable, so I'm supposed to change.
mhm. Yeah.
Which is just a ridiculous premise, particularly because like I mean, every time I hear about the law, and they always word it that like we can't have anything in school. As a teacher, I pay a lot of attention to education laws.
Mhm.
Thank God Illinois has mostly good education laws, but
Yeah.
you see them in other states. Um, and it's like, oh, we can't teach anything that will make children feel uncomfortable about their heritage.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, then you can't teach white history if you have black kids in the classroom.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's like I
Would
think it's
that
good.
ever actually have the law applied to it? I'm betting it wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm grateful like for my education, in high school, I was like made to feel like very uncomfortable and in a good way, because like our teachers would just give us like these very hard, like hard-hitting texts, and I was, like we really had to grapple with issues of like racism and classism, and it's like, yeah, you should feel uncomfortable. Like I'm glad that I was made to feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
as a kid. And like I'm grateful for that, because I think that you have to, and I feel like it's good to be uncomfortable, because if you live your life just never being uncomfortable, then you're never going to grow.
That's a very good point. I mean, it's so easy to overlook the comforts that we have. Oh God, we're both drinking Dunkin'. We're not even in Boston and we're both drinking
No.
Dunkin'. What's going on, man?
Oh, the American
Uh,
Empire.
um, I'm going to talk a little bit about form, but I think it
Mhm.
plays in. Um, I've really become enamored of the way people use panels, the way people express thoughts, the way people um, lay out their comics. And I enjoy like page one of the comic. You
Mhm.
know, you split yourself into four panels, but then all of your thoughts are this cascade of little panel here, little panel there. I'm assuming you're working pen on paper, which means you don't even have the advantage that some people have of I'm going to draw this panel and then literally lay them over each other. If I'm wrong, you can tell me. Um,
No, you're right. Pen on paper.
right. So you've managed to do this collage of all of your visions of death, um, almost like Polaroids laid on top of each other. Um, and then like the racing thoughts and I will admit to not having read every single word in the racing thoughts yet.
Oh,
I'm
that's
certain
fine.
that I will at some point, but I kind of picked up that, oh, wait a minute. This is partially the feeling it's supposed to give you.
Hmm.
But I also looked at it and it's like none of these words are accidental.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes when people do it, like the racing thoughts, there's a little bit of a blah 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 or repetitiveness or whatnot, and it's really not like
Yeah. I
you
usually,
you wrote some shit, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. I mean
oh
that in
yeah.
a
No, if I usually like do those, and I make sure that you can like get the story without reading them, but reading
right,
them gives you like a deeper understanding of it. So it's kind
right,
of like special feature, like an Easter egg.
right. So I mean, what? And I talk to cartoonists at like every level of their career. So I guess I should step back a little bit. How long have you been cartooning? Because you're one of my younger guests. I'm not gonna cast aspersions and try to guess how old you are. I'm not that guy. Um, but like I think my youngest guest was 15, and I'm certain you're older than 15. If you're 30, I'm gonna be shocked.
Yeah, so I'm 22. My birthday is on September 16th, so I will be 23 soon.
Okay.
Um, I've always wanted to do comics and cartoons, but I only really started doing them seriously when I was 18, because
Okay.
before I was just too paralyzed by my perfectionism and insecurity about my art. You know, I was like, oh,
Okay.
it's never going to look as good as it does in my head, so I just wouldn't do it. But then I took a comics class taught by Dan Rayburn, um, and it was just really transformative. Because I was like, oh, you don't have to be good at art to be good at comics, you know? And
No.
his like philosophy was just like, okay, everyone's gonna do the same thing. I don't care how good you are at art, you know, like you have to do it. And then our final project was like an 8-page comic. And I wrote a comic called Motherhood about my grandmother and like my feelings about children and childbirth. And I was like, oh, this is actually good. Like, this is actually pretty good. You know, like it's the drawing isn't amazing, but you know, it still makes a meaningful comic. And I was like, oh, you know, I love like this format. I love thinking in comics. So then I just kept going. I've only been like going to shows and pen and fests and stuff for a little over a year, just because I didn't really know anyone. But ever since I started going, I've met more people, and it's been awesome.
Oh yeah, the community is so ridiculously welcoming,
Hmm.
I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Um at every level. Um Though I still wish there weren't quite the same lines between different levels.
Mm,
Like I forget, are you headed to Cartoons Crossroads this year? Were you the
I
person that
am.
Okay.
I didn't get in, but Radiator Comics, who distributes some of my comics,
Right.
invited like some of their
Some of people to be the
yeah, the
table.
table, and I
What
jumped at the opportunity.
what I love about Cartoons Crossroads um is at least among the cons that I've gone to, they're the one that like blurs all the lines that kind of exist between comics. Because there's like the like we were at Insert Name. Insert Name is the Zine Fest. Almost
Mm-hmm.
everybody there doesn't have a publisher, or if they have a publisher, it's a publisher in like name only. It's them, but they
Yeah.
have their publisher name, or maybe it's 10 of them that have a publisher name together, or you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Every
Very
once in a
small.
while, somebody like Uncivilized came a couple of years ago, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you have like your SPX and your Cake and that sort of thing. And that's like the higher echelon of that sort of stuff combined with the small publishers, your Silver Sprocket,
Mm-hmm.
your your
It's like
um
Frog Farm.
right. You're uncivilized. Sometimes your Fantagraphics or your Drawn and Quarterly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you've got your pop culture cons, and that's where Marvel and DC and Dark Horse and whatnot show up, and maybe Fantagraphics and Drawn and Quarterly, but not. And there's so few. Like I just talked to Jesse Lonergan. Jesse Lonergan, first of all, is just an insane artist, and I think you'd like his stuff because I see some of the same thought process type stuff in the way you lay out your panels to some of his work. Though he uses way less words than you. So like I'm not um but he's like the only artist I know that I've seen his stuff at all those different levels of cons, right?
Oh.
And Cartoons Crossroads is the only place I go where I see all of those different levels of publishers and artists like represented in the same place, with also more YA and manga thrown in than you see at either any of those
Mm.
other.
Yeah.
And comics is this huge world that isn't big enough, frankly, because it's such a perfect medium. And I want to go back
Mm-hmm.
to, like you said, you've wanted to make comics all your life. So like talk to me about that. What I mean, I know everything that I love about the medium of comics, but I love to hear what other people love about the medium of comics. What about comics is
I
like,
just
oh God, I want to tell stories like this.
it's just such a good way of blending text and words, you know. When I was in eighth grade, I don't know, like I got maybe this like obsessiveness about reading books where I would, like read a sentence over and over again, and I would be like, oh, I have to like memorize everything like perfectly. I have to memorize every single word on this page, otherwise I can't look at the next page. And it kind of paralyzed me. And what helped me was comics because it was just gave me some breathing room. And I'd loved comics all my life. I've been reading them since I was a kid, and I don't know, I think in like panels, and I think it's really easy to do that because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So it's kind of like directing a movie, but you're the writer, you're the director, you're also the actors,
Right.
you're the screenwriter, you're the costume designer, you're the set designer, you have everything in your control. And I think the first like comic strip that I really did was when I was 16 in like a writing workshop. And it was this like 4-page comic, but it was from this like whole graphic novel idea I had in my head called Bahman the Prophet. And I've never written that, but I've just been thinking about that for years and years. And I was like, but it was just a product of my perfectionism. I was like, well, I can't write this until I'm like amazing at art. But I was just still thinking about the spreads I would do, thinking about like how the spreads would like break up into panels and like just the individual art. And it's just such a great way to kind of convey so many different details and the tone. I just think it's such an interesting medium because I love writing, but then I also just love the detail and art and the backgrounds, just the way that you can kind of capture the characters.
Okay. Talk to me about some of the comics that you read growing up. What comics were the ones that went, oh, this, I want to do
Um,
this.
yeah, so I read a lot of Asterix and Tintin growing up.
Oh, nice.
Um, my dad had a big Tintin collection. He has like one in Farsi, which I hope to become fluent enough to read in Farsi.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would
Well,
also
and
read,
if you
oh,
do,
sorry.
there's absolutely a need for like comics translations
Mm-hmm.
in all
Yeah.
directions. I had a couple of translators on recently.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. And like with poetry, translating comics is different from just translating.
Yeah.
So it's good to have somebody who has a little bit of a comics background
Mm-hmm.
rather
Yeah.
than, sorry to interrupt there.
Oh
Like I
no, I
said,
think like
ADD, autism.
mm-hmm.
I
Mm.
hate using that as an excuse. It's more of an explanation. You
Yeah.
can
Oh,
tell
you're
me to
good.
shut up.
No, no worries. Yeah, I think translating also like if you know like the slang as well, because
Right.
in comics, a lot of the dialogue is very colloquial.
Hmm.
Um, but
And
yeah, I
needs
read
to
it.
be.
Yeah. Um, and then I read some X-Men. I read Persepolis as a very
Oh,
young kid. Which, I didn't really understand all of it as a young kid. But then I read it again when I was 12 and I understood more, and then I read it again. And it
I
became,
mean,
I
I'm
mean, it's
45 and I don't know if I understand all of it, but
it's a little
but that's because,
embarrassing, but oh, I wrote my college essay on Persepolis. I was like,
oh,
oh,
nice.
it's a touchstone for my cultural identity. Um, which I find a little silly, but I mean, it kind of was because
I mean,
I'd be very
it
possessive over
is.
it.
You're allowed to say that it is just because it. I mean, and like this is where can shoot me down if I'm wrong, but what that feels like is you're sitting there going, "Oh, this is the cliche touchdown for my personal identity. I should find
Yeah.
something cooler than this." But you know what? Screw that.
Yeah.
If it is for you, it is for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's great. I love that book so much. I became very possessive over it, as a kid. It's like, oh, you guys don't get it like I do. This is like my
Right.
book.
Right.
So I loved that. And then I read Mouse when I was a little older and Fun
Right.
Home. I read a lot of manga. To be honest, I would just go to the library in middle school and high school at lunch and just read whatever books they had. And oftentimes
Okay.
they'd have like books that were part of series but didn't have all the
Right.
series. They just have
So
one-off
there's our
books.
shout out for librarians. People use your
Oh
graphic novel
yeah,
sections.
they do. I would just read
We've
all
got lots of
day.
librarians.
Yeah. So I would just spend my lunchtime reading all the comics and the manga and the graphic novels. And uh it was great. I would love it. I would burn through them. Um, I read Saga in high school. Uh,
We are doing a Saga book club. So if you want to
oh,
reread Saga,
cool.
we're
I
getting
actually haven't
together every
finished
four
it
weeks.
because after that
Getting together every four
hiatus.
weeks.
Oh, cool. Oh my gosh.
We're
Yeah.
doing volume two on. I have to look at my calendar. I can't even 4 week things. I can't keep track of dates anymore. I book too many things.
Yeah.
Uh, we will be recording volume two at 8:30 on September 15th.
Oh,
So
cool.
if you want me to, I will add you to the list on that, and you can come talk Saga with some comic geeks.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even think you'll be quite the youngest person in the room
Hmm. Wow.
because we
Another
try to run the
15-year-old.
gamut. What? No, not
Another.
quite that young. I think Isabel is. I think she's 20, maybe
Oh,
21
cool.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, not a lot younger.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry, I
Oh, you're good.
fell off the track again. Let's bring it back to
Comics.
your book as I flip through though.
Okay.
Because I actually I'm going to ask the question that I don't think is handled as much directly in this book, though I think the character is drawn as non-white. Um, like most of what you handle with here is the casual misogyny of particularly college
Mm-hmm.
age boys, college age privileged white boys.
Yeah.
Um, is that something that is because I also I mean there was a the scene that kind of stands out to me is the party scene where it kind
Mm-hmm.
of seems like the white girls are like on the main character's side. I don't want to say your side because I know it's fiction. Um, I forget. Did you actually ever name the character?
No, and that was purposeful.
I thought that that was the case.
Yeah.
Um, I felt like the white girls were on they were like on the protagonist's side, but they were also kind of like, yeah, but this is the biggest problem in my life, and it's not that big of a problem. So like, just forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if there's an element of the like, God damn it, this isn't the biggest problem in my life, but that also means that why the fuck is it a problem in my life?
Yeah.
Why when we're still dealing with all this stuff? Why? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know what quite the question is. Like, talk to me about, I guess, the layering effect. It feels like it's like and I think this comes out also in the way you do your word explosions or your massive pages of panels,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Um, about how this is one big issue, but it's like one big issue in your life rather than the
Yeah.
big issue in your life
I mean, I
or the
just think,
character's life. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely based on me, it's like
Right.
but I think it just like permeates everything in society, and once you kind of realize that, it's like, oh, I'm not going to be fun anymore because I'm always going to be noticing something, and being like, oh, actually, I don't like when you said that. And then, feeling like, oh, you're making people feel guilty or something. And, obviously, there are other issues in people's lives and my life, but it's just something that I I think just the anger I feel about it is because it's perpetuated by people who say that they care about like the
Yeah.
oppressed or minorities, and that's kind of the angle that I'm writing from. And that's definitely like a bigger kind of issue in some of my other works where I talk about like Middle Eastern feminism specifically, because that's like the misogyny is perpetuated by men of color. And it's
Right.
like I think a lot of white people or like white people are like, oh, like it's just part of their culture, and it's like that's also racist, like
Right.
it's just you're just saying that like someone is like, oh, they're just naturally misogynistic, like you sound racist, it's like
Well, and then the ultimate like bullshit, which is, well, I'm not as misogynist as them. I just use that word you don't like. I'm not
yeah,
telling you you have to whatever.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, like one thing that just came up, I don't know, a couple years ago, like I remember my cousins were telling me about like how like their dad, my uncle, was like being really misogynistic, and they were like, oh, it's just like Iranian dad things. And I was like, well, I mean, my dad is, I was like, if my dad ever said those things to me, I'd never talk to him. It's like that's like you can't just like say, oh yeah, like it's just their culture, because it's not, and it shouldn't be.
and even if it is, cultures change.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, it's one thing to say that you respect all cultures, and it's another thing to say that all cultures should be static forever,
Hmm. And that's why I like to like write about, feminist movements in those countries, just because I
right?
know people are going to be like, well, what if you were, a woman there, you don't know what they're like. And it's like, well, actually I do, because I've done research on it. And
Right.
just because I know that it's something that is going to come up, and it's like, which is why I want to focus on, yeah, there are women there who are actively fighting against it, so you can't just be like, oh, that's just what they are. That's just what they do. I don't know if that
Uh,
answered your original question.
no, it, I mean, I don't know if I had an original question. It does actually lead to, I'm trying to remember exactly. At one point, I think you even question like the why you care about words, and I think like I'm gonna both posit a hypothesis, but also really just say why I care about words, which is like words are the absolute easiest thing to change, and they cost you nothing.
Hmm.
So like you can't use the R word anymore. Oh well, find another way to
Yeah.
be funny.
Yeah.
You know, are you so dumb that you can't find another way to be funny?
Yeah.
You know, oh, don't
Hmm.
tell racist jokes anymore. You're so dumb that you can't be funny
Yeah.
without punching down,
Yeah.
you
It's like
know.
that's
And
why.
I'm specifically hitting towards comics right now, but like it is
Mm,
certainly the biggest group of people that even among the people who tend to be leftist, they seem worried about cancel culture. And if
yeah.
there is one thing that I will say about the left is we're way better at canceling ourselves than canceling
Oh,
anybody else.
absolutely. I mean, and it's just I mean, and it's like that's why, I'm writing a generic comic about like I'm not like, posting like, oh, this person like said this,
Right.
they should be canceled. It's like I don't want to do that. I want to just write kind of a comic that's more general and that
Yeah.
addresses the issue
Well, and
rather than the
and
person.
helps. See, you just opened my thought process. That's what I appreciated about this comic is it didn't specific. I mean, it called out Steve, but who the hell is Steve?
It's a
Lots of
pseudonym.
Steves in the
Yeah.
world, right? Um, but what it did was show us how it feels.
Hmm.
Show the world that like it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
And it is a big deal because it's a little thing.
Yeah.
Because it's a little thing. It, it it's just not hard to change your language,
Hmm.
particularly when
Yeah.
it comes to things that are like uh, I mean, I think of and I know that this is at times a problematic movie, but um, I think of the scene in Chasing Amy where Holden gives Banky a hard time for using a homophobic slur
Hmm.
against the video game hockey team, and he's like, "That's passive aggressive or homophobia,"
Yeah.
and, and it's true. You could just call them assholes. You
Yeah.
don't
No,
have to call them.
exactly. And that's why I've been so upset with like bitch as an insult. This isn't the first time I've written about it. Like I had a comic in 2021 where I like uh I an excerpt of it was like published like last year, but it was just like saying like you could just use another word, like why do you have to
Yeah,
use a gendered word, and the
right.
backlash to it, like why are you getting so defensive, like why are you saying like, oh, it's me who's soft, who's being upset, like, if you can't even fathom why I would be upset, it's like I'm sure you can, but you just don't want to think about it because it's just like another thing you have to give up. And it's like that's
I mean,
why.
to the extent that they can't, it's because there literally aren't any ways that they have to.
Yeah.
What? I mean, is there even a pejorative term for a privileged white male?
No, I mean, like no, but even if there were, it just wouldn't have the same effect. Like, I don't know. it's why like insults against like white people just aren't going to have the same effect because they don't have that like history of racism
Right.
like behind it, you know, like insults for men like just don't have the same effect because they're not carrying the weight of that real violence.
So, I mean, I mean that's absolutely true, and that was where I was going. Is you just don't have the, but I am also suddenly realizing that like one of my favorite books of last year, and I'm biased because the artist is a good friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
was Big Jim and the White Boy, by David Walker and Marcus Kwame Anderson, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a conversation with Huckleberry Finn.
Oh, okay.
So it's a real retelling of Huckleberry Finn that centers Jim.
Mm-hmm.
But like they made the conscious choice to use the N-word.
Mm.
And they like scribble it out. So it's there, but it's not there.
Yeah.
But then there's a scene in the middle of it where Huck and Jim actually have a word conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim's like, "Well, what would you do if somebody called you a N-word?" And Huck's like, "Well, I'd kick his ass." And he's like, "Uh-huh."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like
It's oh, sorry.
the well, I mean, just the casual cruelty or demeaning that people
Mm-hmm.
of privilege, red white males, um, are willing to just throw out because they've just
Yeah.
never even considered how it would feel
Mm-hmm.
thrown back
And
at them.
it's like why I also just have an issue with like leftist men calling like I don't know, using just misogynistic insults against right-wing women. It's like, yeah, I hate those women too, but misogyny isn't something you get to do to someone you don't
Right,
like, you know,
right,
because if you use it against them, what's to say you're not going to use it against someone else you don't like? And I've seen leftist men,
right.
you know, use like mental health
Oh yeah.
language against like accusations of sexual
Mhm.
assault, you know. I've seen it like in my community, you know, and it's like, oh, okay, so you're just using the same thing that the people that like right-wing people
Right.
do, but wokely.
Right, right. It's okay if we aim it at our enemies. Has never made
Mm-hmm.
sense to me. I mean, the most common argument I wind up getting into with people that I agree on with things is when I feel like they start dehumanizing in one way, shape, or form Republican voters. Because I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
there going, that's way too big of a group for us to make any generalizations. So the second we start even making generalizations, I have trouble with you. But when you, and don't get me wrong, I'm not happy with Republican voters.
Yeah.
But the second we start stereotyping them, I have problems. But when that stereotype becomes in any way, shape, or form dehumanizing, what makes us different?
Yeah. Because it's
Yeah.
just a slippery slope, you know, and it's like, oh, so you're just gonna call any woman you disagree with a bitch. Like, how is that? How am I supposed to be like think of myself in solidarity with you?
Right.
It's just, and it's like, yeah, you know, I still join like the same marches or campaigns that those people do because I'm like, well, this, I'm not gonna not go to a protest because like the organizer said something I didn't like, you know, because the cause is more
Yeah.
important, you know, but it still makes me upset, you know, because I don't wanna, you know, be thinking about that, you know, like I wish that
Right.
uh
You want to be focused on what you're protesting rather than the fact that, okay, when I'm done winning this battle, there's another one to win. And I'm sorry, I just stepped on you.
I mean, it's just like, because I think the like a conflict is like, oh, so you're just like not gonna like fight for this thing just because like the leader of it like is a little bit sexist. Like, no, like I still will, you know, like I still will like go to those movements and you know participate and give my time and energy, but I don't like that, you know, this person is being elevated and I'm also allowed to like talk about that, you know, just because I'm like talking about it doesn't mean that I'm in, you know, like gonna be I don't know, like a purist, you know, because I think that's why I'm like using my words. I think like rhetoric has to be stronger than action because your rhetoric is going to be watered down anyway. So you might as well make it stronger rather than weaker, you know? It's why like my comics are very strong and pointed and like uncomfortable because in real life, like I'm, like I'm going to, I don't know, like if every person organizing something, uh, or no, like no organization has people who are going to be agreeing with me 100% of the time. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop working with them or like stop, going to protests organized by them because I understand that the cause is important, but I still think that they should be able to change. I think you should criticize organizations you work with because if you don't like fight for the people you work with to be better, then you're just like accepting that things are never going to get better. And like, I want things to get better. Like, that's why I talk about misogyny, it's because I think that there is the potential to get better. If it were a lost cause, then I guess I just wouldn't talk about it.
I liked something you said there. Your rhetoric should be stronger than your actions. Um, we often hear that actions speak louder than words, and it seems like those two statements should be contradictory, but I don't think they are because, actions, particularly towards large goals, tend to be more communal.
Mm-hmm.
So you necessarily have to make compromises. Your
Yeah.
rhetoric can be your statement of purpose. This is how I want to act. This is how I wish we could act. And your rhetoric should be, I'm processing really complicated thoughts in my head, so I'm kind of thinking out loud. Because
I
you've
can give
made
an
me think here.
example
No,
if
no,
you'd
no, no. Go
like.
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, no, no. I'm
So,
agreeing with you. I'm just
oh
kind of,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So have you been following like the New York mayoral elections, like Zohran
Oh
Mamdani?
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
I thought it was amazing that he won the primary. I'm not
Definitely.
registered to vote in New York anymore. I did grow up there, so
Right.
I do have like I'm very interested. But seeing like Twitter, I don't know, I don't know like how much Twitter impact has on real life, but like seeing a bunch of people on Twitter being like, oh, he's not a true ally to the cause, he didn't like say, uh, like police should be like 100% defunded. And I'm just thinking, well, like he's trying to win an election. Like you should still say those, like you should still criticize him, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't vote for him because it's like, this is what the best mayoral candidate we've had in years. Like,
Well, and like here's what I was trying to put together is that like actions have bigger consequences, and
mm-hmm.
therefore actions need to be on some level small c conservative. I don't mean conservative as in like conservatives, red
Yeah,
state people. I mean like
more
if
thought
you
out.
yeah, if you overact. I mean, yes, you can work to fix things if things don't go well, but it's better not to break things. Whatever Silicon Valley people think, more
Mm-hmm.
times than not, it's better not to break things than to break them and then fix them.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas rhetoric is where the ideas are formed. Rhetoric is
Mm-hmm.
where they're refined. Rhetoric is where you decide to make actions. Rhetoric should change. You shouldn't be damned for something that you said 10 years ago because you're not who you were 10 years ago. I say that with caveats,
Yeah.
but like you're not old enough to remember or likely not old enough. I don't want to guarantee it. You were what? If you're 22 now, you were 5, so maybe. Or no, no, sorry, you were 1. So no, you're not old enough to remember the John Kerry George W. Bush campaign in
Mm-hmm.
2004. But like
Yeah.
a huge part of it was based on the fact that John Kerry had flip-flopped on the
Mm-hmm.
Iraq War. He'd voted for it and voted against it. And it didn't matter how many times he said, look, based on the information we had on this date, yeah, I voted for it. And in the 3 months before the next vote, this, and this came out, and I changed my mind and I voted against it. He was labeled as a flip-flopper, and we needed to have firm, powerful. I'm like, how is the idea that leaders shouldn't change their minds a good thing?
Yeah.
How is it good that like any position that you take in your life, you shouldn't be able to change from?
Yeah.
Um, and that to me is the power of the statement that you just made. That the rhetoric should be stronger. We should be less afraid of taking a strong position rhetorically.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we learn more, if our experience tells us more, and we wind up softening it or strengthening it or whatever, I mean, because I mean, just to bring your mom Donnie example, it could be that he's trying to win an election. It could be that he's like, yeah, police as we know it is completely flawed, but I don't know if having no vehicle for public safety is a good
Mm-hmm.
idea. So before I say defund the police out loud, I want to have a really good idea of what we're gonna do instead.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, we have massive problems with like our carceral system, but I don't know if the best answer is to let everybody out of prison and figure it out.
Yeah. And I think like rhetoric is also like great at inspiring people and motivating
Hmm.
people. And it's like that's why it should be really strong. But, not everything is going to be translated to action, and we
At
should know
least not
that.
into direct,
Yeah.
and I think that's part of. I mean, and I don't want to defend Biden too much because he lost me when he couldn't speak power to Netanyahu. He completely lost me. Um,
I mean,
I get,
I think that's what lost him the election.
I do too. Um, because I think it was his weakest moment. I don't think
Mhm.
anybody bought it as being strong for Israel. So the people who wanted him to be that, Trump had them anyway. And
Yeah.
and everybody else went, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
But until that point, he was accomplishing a lot of things and still losing ground, I think, because there were so many people that are like, well, you talked this game and you haven't managed to deliver it. And I'm sitting there going, it's been 6 months in an opposition Congress.
Yeah.
This is what he wants to do. The number of people who would talk about Obama and his broken promises. I'm like, those aren't broken promises. Those are, this is what I want to do. But now, once I'm in office, there are people who have checks on what I can do. And we
Hmm.
like it that way. If you don't believe that we like it that way, look at the last 6 months where we have a president who doesn't have checks, who's just doing what he said he was going to
Yeah.
do. um, People are complicated. The world is complicated. Yeah, I love it when people give me things to absolutely chew on. I like that.
Yeah.
Rhetoric should be stronger than actions.
Because it's
Uh,
like I'm not advocating for you to like murder someone in my clinic,
no,
but I am advocating for you to like think about your words and what you say, and also for men, like how do you talk to your friends? How do you challenge your friends in their misogyny? Because it makes me think like this. I read this kind of excerpt from Steve Biko, the South African independence activist, and one of his writings was like talking to like white liberals in South Africa, and he was like basically you're too obsessed with like seeming cool to black people, but like what actually helps the movement is if you talk to your racist white friends, you know and he's like, well, none of you are actually doing that because you don't actually want anything to change, you just want to seem like you do. And I was like, that seems like a lot of like liberal men. It's like they like are like, yeah, babe, misogyny sucks, but they don't talk to their like misogynist friends. They still
or
like laugh at
or
their jokes.
or in my mind, equally bad. They completely write off their misogynist friends as like, oh, the best way to convince them to be different is for me not to be their friend anymore.
It's like, oh,
And
that's
therefore
just.
they get more of an echo chamber.
Mm, yeah, I've just seen like people be like, yeah, oh, that's just like Josh. That's just what he does. It's like,
Oh yeah, no, no,
oh,
no, no, no,
okay.
no. I wasn't saying that
Oh
that
yeah,
doesn't.
no.
I mean, but those tend to be the two. Very
Mm-hmm.
rarely are I will remain their friend and or have a very long breakup process where I try to
Just
keep
like
the
let them
friendship
know.
by
Yeah.
helping them become a better person. Because isn't that like part of what friends are for?
Yeah.
I mean, to
Yeah.
me, every relationship I have, it's because, my best friends are the people that I spend time around or I talk to, and I want to be better because of them. That
Um,
I feel like I've grown because of conversations with them or time spent with them.
yeah.
Oh,
Just one thing. I said Steve Biko was an independence activist. He was an anti-apartheid activist, which I guess could be translated to independence, but I don't want to like say anything on the record that's technically factually incorrect. I just
that's
wanted to make
cool.
that correction. Yeah, I was like
This is this is
anti-apartheid.
this is I love that you think we have enough listeners that it matters, and it also makes me smile because it's such a college kid thing. I gotta be
Well,
directly.
I like being correct.
I'm not, Daria, I'm not trying to make fun of you.
No, no, I know. I know. I'm like, well, because I'd be thinking about
25
it the
years
entire
ago, I would
time.
have been exactly the same. I would have been, oh, no, no, no.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, like if I don't do that, I'm gonna be thinking about it the rest of the time.
I I so completely relate to that statement. I beyond relate to that statement. Um, so yeah, no, I wasn't meaning to put you down. I was
Oh no, of
I
course I
was
didn't think
more
about it
it
that
was
way.
more it was more laughing at the 20-year-old myself that would have been that
Yeah,
way. Oh, wait a minute. I said this and I meant that, and 99.95% of the world don't know the difference. But that
yeah,
0.05% is clearly going to be listening to this podcast and they're going to blow up my Twitter feed.
yeah. LOL.
Well, because I mean that's the other thing I appreciated about your comic is that a friend of mine is what they call pure OCD,
Mm-hmm.
strictly obsessional. He has the constantly racing thoughts. So like
Yeah.
your first page both reminded me of his first comic, She Could Fly, from
Oh.
her books. Uh, Came out a couple years ago. But also my wife tends to have similar issues where it's like, and for that matter, I was listening to everything comes together. My brain is the one that brings everything that I have ever did together in one spot. I was just listening to
Mm-hmm.
Mark Maron, and he was talking about his girlfriend doesn't text back, and 5 minutes later, he's convinced that she's had a car accident and she's dead because like
Yeah.
that's just how his. I think that the line he's like is like, I don't get these people who say like stop thinking for a while and just relax. If I try to stop
Oh
thinking,
yeah.
there's that corner of my brain that will open the worry box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. I used to like have like obsessive thoughts that my parents were dead and like they died in a car accident. Yeah, very distressing. I didn't really think about it like that it was anything. I didn't really talk about it, but I do remember like a period of time in my life where I was like, oh my God, like I would just think that my parents had died if they came home late.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't personally have the same obsessive thoughts, but I do have the brain that I can't shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as you've probably noticed, as I ping pong all over the fucking place in the 55 minutes that we've been talking so far. I don't even remember where I was.
Rhetoric, action, obsession, panels,
All of the above.
yeah.
Um, why don't we transition to I want to talk about Maha Nassar because I
Yes.
Didn't know who Maha Nassar was before this, and
A
now I
lot of
do, and
people
I'm glad that
don't.
I do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
talk to me. You want
Yeah,
to talk about Maha Nassar? I'm giving you the
I
opportunity. Talk
do.
about Maha Nassar.
So this the comic first came about as an essay for a class on Middle Eastern feminisms, and the essay actually got like a B or a B plus. And I was like a little upset, but it was also because I kind of ignored the assignment because I was like getting too deep into research about Palestinian feminism, and I was like, wait, I got into a rabbit hole. But I did a ton of research on
I
Palestinian
know all about
feminism.
those. You just defined why I don't
Yeah.
have a college degree.
And I was like, oh, and I don't think, I mean, the teacher and I kind of like love her. We like argued all the time in class. Because I was the only one being like, actually, like you can say that these people are misogynistic, like, because no one else in the class was like Middle Eastern, and I was like, am I gonna be the only one who's like saying, like, actually, we can be angry, you know? But I digress. So I wrote it in an essay, and then I was like, wait, I want to make a comic about this, and then like raise money because for like Palestine relief. And so I used the essay as kind of like a framework for the comic, which was helpful because like a lot of my academic comics, I really have to do a ton of research. So for this one, like the research had already been done. So all there was to it was like kind of translating it into comic form and doing a little more research on Maha specifically. I had a friend who had like showed me a Facebook group with a bunch of photos of her because it's difficult to find photos of her online. She's really not well known, but I kind of just was thinking like this is someone who confounds both like pro-Israel activists and the pro-Palestine activists who kind of ignore the misogyny that is present, because this is someone who is fighting against Israeli oppression and also the oppression of the men in her community, and she didn't back down on either front. And I feel like a lot of people think that you have to choose one or the other. And I don't want to, This is someone who was fighting for both, she was fighting for women and for her country and for Palestine. And I think that was really inspirational. And I like it was just really very heroic of her, because she could have like backed down, but she didn't, and it was just really moving to me, and I wanted to write about her and kind of show people that you don't have to back down on either issue.
This is just another autism brain thing. How much do you think people saying that you have to back down on one issue or the other is wedge driving? It's
Oh,
like let's split these groups. Let's make these factions work against each other rather than with each other, even though they're mostly going for the same things.
I mean, a lot of like pro-Israel activists are like, well, what if you were a woman in Gaza? And
Right.
it's like, okay, well, I mean, even my dad, he was like, okay, well, like, what if you got raped? Like, wouldn't you want to, and your rapist was in a hospital? And I was like, well, I wouldn't bomb the hospital, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what? But I would,
What if I was a woman
obviously
in
want that
Gaza? I'd be
person.
getting bombed like women in Gaza.
Yeah. But I would also want that person to face justice, And it's
Absolutely.
like those people, I think also a lot of like um pro-Palestinian activists are scared of like pointing out the flaws in uh Palestinian culture that Palestinian women are fighting against,
Right.
It's like you can a lot like every culture is misogynistic. You don't have to deny misogyny
Well,
to
and
advocate for a people.
it's kind of how you wind up with the magical black man or the noble savage Indian whatnot. It's so much easier to um fight on behalf of a supposedly perfect group
Hmm.
than to go, yes, they're human too, you
Yeah,
know.
and it's like that
Um,
shows, like,
I
I don't
mean,
know, her
I'd love to
story
see
showed
Hamas
that.
gotten rid of, but the way they're doing it right now is going to help Hamas unless they accomplish genocide. The way that they're going right now gets rid of Hamas is if they actually kill them all.
don't,
And I can't get behind that,
and
you
I don't
know.
think, I mean, it's not going to happen, because the Palestinian diaspora exists, and
Right,
as long as the diaspora exists, there will always be resistance,
right.
and you just
And
can't.
and then your bad actions inspire resistance.
Yeah.
And therefore, like again, you're like like and it's one of those things where it's like, how do we not learn? Shock and awe. Oh, wonderful. Except that shock and awe goes from shock and awe to, oh, we gotta beat those fuckers.
Hmm.
Did we? And this is one of my unpopular takes. Like, was our response to 9/11, oh, we must change our ways and be more like they want us to be, otherwise they'll hurt us again. No, it was fuck you, we're coming after you. So why on earth do we expect any other person in the world to behave differently when we carpet bomb them?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, obviously people are gonna fight back,
Right.
And it was like similar, honestly, similar rhetoric was kind of being used a couple months ago when they were bombing Iran,
Hmm.
and again, I saw leftists denying misogyny in Iran, and it was like, it just made me so angry, because having seen like my female family members directly face like misogyny from like these cultures, these governments, I haven't been to Iran. My mom's half Turkish, but I largely, haven't been at the brunt of that, like specific misogyny. But it's like I've seen how that's affected like my mom and my stepmom, but does that mean
Well,
I
and
think
and
they should be bombed? Obviously not,
right.
like and it's like most people in Iran are just normal people, like everyone they're just living their lives, they're not like some perfect, like, flawless group of people that have perfect society, like no woman is ever harmed, all women have this one idea, and they're all
Now that only
super
exists in
happy with the
small town
government.
America.
Right, 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 right. But it's just like you don't have to deny. And yeah, I mean, like that's why I wrote a small comic a couple months ago, just like on my thoughts about the bombing and like my family in Iran. You know,
See, I need to see so many more of your small
I
comics.
just posted that on Instagram because I was just like
Did you?
tired of seeing so many takes, like,
Yeah.
oh, this will cause a revolution in Iran. Like, no, it won't. Like you think bombing someone is gonna cause them to rebel against their
I,
own government? Like, all it's
I
gonna make
mean,
is the government crack down.
it might, but not the revolution you want.
Yeah.
I mean, we caused a revolution in Afghanistan. They're even more
It's
Taliban than they
horrific.
were
Yeah.
before. You
Yeah.
know?
Um, but yeah, it's just like that kind of
I
cognitive
mean,
dissonance is something I write about a lot.
and that's I mean that's why I'm enjoying your work. I'm enjoying talking to you because cognitive dissonance is something that's so much easier to recognize in others than ourselves.
Hmm.
um so like people who will challenge themselves and the people around them when they see it um are special to me because again, this is how we become better as people. This is why I stand up for comics. This is why I stand up for fiction. Uh, Fiction is how you learn about people. History books is how you learn about governments and societies and systems. But if you want to know about the people who lived in them, fiction is where you
Hmm.
go. Sometimes memoir, but memoir is always going to be slightly slanted.
Yeah.
And biography is, it doesn't have the humanity. It's
Hmm.
again about how an individual fit into a system, into either fit into a system or reshaped a system or whatever. And all of that is
Yeah.
important. It all
Mm-hmm.
fits together. But this is, I mean, again, as an educator, I like it's why I get like one of my big pet peeves is when people go after arts education or humanities
Mm,
education or English classes. Oh, what do we need those for? What are they going to learn from reading literature? And it's like how to like human better.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've noticed, but humaning is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I worry, like, I'm not trying to seem like I have no cognitive dissonance, like when I
No, I
call
know
it
you're not.
out. Um, it's
I mean, I
just, I
see
don't
it in
know.
your writing is the fact that you think about. I mean, you question yourself regularly. That's
I hope
acknowledging at
so.
least the
Yeah.
possibility of cognitive dissonance. Um, no, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to say that or
Oh,
imply
no,
at all
no.
that.
I don't think that's what you were implying.
Yeah,
I'm just, like, I worry. I don't know. I don't want to seem like I don't know, like I'm have all the answers just because I'm criticizing other
yeah,
people, you
right.
know?
Well, and it's the and like I'm gonna say this, and I want to make it clear that at 45, I'm not much closer to it. But at 22, I was so good at seeing the problems in the world and thought that I was certain of how to move forward. And the biggest change between me then and me now is just my confidence level. My
Mm,
confidence level isn't as high anymore because I've learned that much more about the world and I'm that much less certain of my own beliefs and not in a bad way, just in a like I've expanded enough that I can start going. I mean, we touched on it. Like the left is completely great at canceling people who are otherwise allies and terrible at
yeah.
canceling anybody else, which is why I honestly don't think the left cancels anybody. The right is good at using the left to find that wedge to cancel that otherwise powerful
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Or better still, bring them over to the other side. There's nothing that's more painful to
Yeah.
me than when I see somebody who at one point I viewed as an ally who is now like a right wing talking head. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what happened to you? And sometimes I know the story, more times than not, I don't. But my guess is almost all of the time, it's they slipped up in one particular way where they felt ostracized and they were welcomed by the assholes.
Yeah. And I think a lot, I've seen that, not, I don't know, like I think a lot of the Iranian diaspora is more conservative than you would think, just
Oh,
because,
uh,
they really dislike the Islamic Republic,
mhm.
and most Western leftists seem to love the Islamic Republic.
Uh,
So, and I'm sure I think it's like also like the wealth, a lot of the diaspora had the funds to, leave the country.
right.
So, like they're
I
generally
mean, I'm a
wealthier, but
baseball geek. I'm a baseball geek too, and why can't I remember his name right now? Um, uh, there is I don't know how much baseball writing he's been doing lately. Rainey Jazzarelli, um, who is mostly a dermatologist, but
baseball critic.
well, particularly he writes about his favorite team, the Royals, but he sometimes does stuff elsewhere. Um, and he is Iranian American, and
Hmm.
like he wrote an essay a while ago. Um, God, probably 10 or 15 years ago, but talking about how like the post 9/11 embrace of um, anti-Islam rhetoric in the Republican Party, like, was one of the biggest like own goals ever because he's like pre 9/11, particularly Iranian Americans, but in general, Muslim Americans were like 90% Republican.
Yeah.
But then they started getting blamed for everything, and in the span of two election cycles, they went to 90% Democrat.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah,
Um,
hatred will lose you voters.
I mean, thank God.
Yeah.
Um,
Not always
because
though.
yeah, it's kind of disturbing the number of people that it feels like uh don't don't
Uh,
abandon the people that pretty clearly hate them.
yeah.
Um, but that's where I also have to remind myself that we love to look through our own lenses and how easy it is for us to find this information or that information or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, high-speed internet isn't as much of a thing in 70% of the country. Libraries aren't as well stocked in 70% of the country. You know, schools are watered down in 70% of the country. So all of these people that we love to make out as just stupid because they're voting against their own interests or whatnot. I mean, I don't think we spend enough time thinking about what their interests are. But B, um, we assume that they have the same resources and time we have to cut through the muck.
Mm,
And we also, I think, give ourselves too much credit for how much we cut through the muck and how much we're around people
yeah.
that have also cut through the muck. Like it's a totally different thing to be completely surrounded by people who only watch Fox News, only spout Fox News, and think that Donald Trump will save everything and manage to find a way to know better.
Yeah.
You know?
It's yeah.
Um, I'm sorry. I think big picture a lot.
Oh
I,
no.
you know,
I
I
was
think we
just
need to broaden the tent. I don't know how, because it seems like every way you could broaden the tent just cuts off people on the left, even when you're not trying to.
yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's why I appreciated what you were saying before too, on like just because I don't agree with everything a leader says in some sort of protest movement doesn't mean that I won't be part of that protest movement. If the movement itself is important, we'll figure out the details further down the line.
But I'm still gonna criticize them, on
Oh
my
yeah, no,
own.
no,
Yeah.
no.
It's like
But I think
action versus rhetoric. Again,
yeah,
like bringing that back.
and I love bringing that back because I think if I had the magic wand to do one thing, it would be like convince people to listen and discuss rather than I
Yeah.
must have my staunch rhetoric.
hmm
And if you don't agree with my rhetoric, I'm taking my ball and going home.
Yeah. Yeah, which seems to be the case. But,
Too often.
maybe I'm generalizing as well. Probably.
I don't know that you are. I mean, and to the extent that you are, it's certainly based on experience. It's certainly been my experience too.
Yeah.
Um, just because I look for ways not to generalize doesn't mean it's not easy to, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, So, like, actually, this is a question, out of this, because I'm the old man, the old white man at that. Um, Talk to me about where you see, either specifically or broadly, um, your age group today in terms of trying to affect change, in terms of moving forward, in terms of what you want, what you think is possible.
Um, it's really, I think it's dependent on, uh, I see a lot of varying answers.
Of course.
Um, I think in a lot of my college peers, the ones who did like tech or consulting are just like doing corporate jobs and they're like, oh, well, I'm working at this evil company now, but once I retire, I can work at a nonprofit. Um, which I don't I don't know.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think a
there was
lot,
a I think Washington Post op-ed recently by some guy that had made his first million at 25 and he was convinced he would be a billionaire at 30 and that's when he'd start doing good work.
yeah, because I don't know, like I was talking to someone in consulting yesterday, and it's like, yeah, I don't like it, but I do it, because it'll make money. And I think a lot of people are just trying to make a living and make ends meet. But I don't know. The job market is really hard.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I'm passing too much judgment on them. Because I've been trying to find like a day job in like at an organization who's like aligns with my values, and that's been really hard. Um, Not gonna lie, a
Yeah.
little bit disheartening, but I think a lot of um people are looking for change but are very pessimistic. I think everyone in my age group is very pessimistic, and just kind of worried. And like there isn't really hope. Yeah, it's just very bleak. It's like, try not to think about it. And I think that's why a lot of people are just like making ends meet for themselves. I also think a lot of information is being disseminated through social media, which is allowing people to learn about things that they haven't, uh, that they wouldn't have been able to, like 20 years ago, which I think is really making my age group uh, more like aware of different struggles and different issues. But I think it can be a sort of echo chamber of people who align with your values, because if one of my cousins is like in the Air Force and her Instagram stories are way different than most of the people I follow, it's like you can't, like the cosmopolitan liberal youth is just not representative of the entire youth. And
Right.
I don't really, to be honest, I don't know enough people in like rural red
Well,
states to,
right. And I guess I asked too big of a question. I wasn't trying to make you the spokesperson for all 22 and 23-year olds in the
right,
world.
right. I know every
Um,
single one, so I can speak for all of them.
I mean, it's kind of like black people. They all know each other, right? No, that's not
I,
true.
s- I saw a
It's not true.
tweet. I saw a tweet that was like, I
And
know
hold on
all.
just a second. I want to make it abundantly clear to anybody listening. I was joking. That was not a serious comment. Sorry. Now go ahead, Daria.
I saw after like Iran got bombed, I saw a tweet that was like, I know all 90 million Iranians, therefore I can speak for all of them. And I just think, like, yeah, you know, it's really easy to make generalizations.
Absolutely.
And
And I phrased it badly. I was meaning to ask more for you and the people that you're around, the people that you align yourself with. How do you how do you manage the work-life protest balance?
A lot
What
of
fights are the
pessimism.
ones, a lot of pessimism?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are just working and going to sleep, working and going to sleep. It's hard, like I quit my service job a couple weeks ago and got a new one and then quit that just because I have so much comic stuff this month. And after this month I'll get another one, but it's not what I'd like to be doing, and I just think that I quit. I was working at the Second City as a host for about 8 months, and it was just making me a really angry person, a bitter person. I think that was because we were understaffed and just like had to do the work of multiple people.
Right.
But I just think like it's exhausting and people just don't have time. Like if you don't know what you want to do and you don't have like plan to do what you want to do, it's really hard to get started, and I haven't been to like as many demonstrations lately as I would like. Um, and that's not good, I feel like I should. And I think that a lot of people feel guilty, like they feel like, oh, I need to be doing more, I need to be doing art, I need to be doing this, but they're just tired and they're pessimistic. And the people in corporate jobs also don't go, to things, or they do. Um, but
Yeah, I know a lot of people that are just afraid to go to the things because of the jobs that they have. Because they're
yeah,
afraid that
I
like if they're in
mean,
the wrong picture or whatever, that it could.
when I had a 9 to 5, I mean, I worked at WBEZ sometimes. I still went to protests.
Right.
Because my thing was like, I'm not important enough for them to fire me. Like,
Th- this is where I'm a little bit older. They're the people that
yeah,
have had the jobs a little bit longer.
yeah, no, that, yeah. Um,
Um,
but that's why we
but
wear masks.
yeah, when it's legal. It's funny when we
Yeah,
make it illegal for protesters to wear masks, but totally legal for law enforcement.
right, right.
And I use that term as loosely as possible.
Yeah.
Um, so like if you could ask for one thing from the older generations, the ones that are more privileged that want to be allies with women, allies with people of color, or just anti-fascists, which there are a lot of them that want to be, and like I mean, I see it all the time. They're I mean, two things. First, many of them had a hard time waking up until it actually like hit their 401k. Oh my God, the stock market's on fire.
Yeah.
What happened? But then the other thing, like, because that's I don't put myself in that group, but I do put myself in the group that's always been comfortable enough that it's like I look for actions, I try to live the best life I can, but like other than the fact that I am an educator and I'm never afraid to have the hard conversation and have deliberately kept myself in a job where like I can mostly get away with it. And
Yeah.
if I don't, I can make as much or more money somewhere else relatively quickly, so I don't have to worry as much. Um, like what could the older generations that care do to be more, and not to youth in general, but I'm certain that there's like what would you love to see more of the 30 somethings, the 40 somethings, the 50 somethings, the 60 somethings doing? Because I know that I look at these groups and I don't see them acknowledging the fights that have been going on for a while,
Hmm.
the people fighting them, or the people who would be fighting them, except that, like you're talking about, they're too tired.
Yeah. I think, first of all, talk to your friends who aren't as active as you are, because that's who has like wealth and power. Talk to your friends because they're more likely to listen to you than they are to some kid, you know?
Right.
And secondly, I think just like invest in the youth, just like really like pay attention to what's going on, you know, consume like art that's made by young people that you think is interesting. I think just like more care and investment in youth movements would mean a lot. Um, and it will just show like, hey, you know, what I'm doing is actually making an impact. You know, it's going beyond my community and it's actually like teaching people something. And then if you tell your friends that, then that could really change something because they're more likely to listen to you than they are anyone else.
Right. Um, Last serious question before we get to some more fun questions, because I don't want to wear you out entirely.
Oh no,
Um,
I'm good to go.
you brought up and you acknowledged the echo chamber, but you brought up that social media allows people to see news or stories that might have been hard for them to find otherwise, etc. Um, my age and older tends to be like all or nothing on social media,
Hmm.
but another one of my unpopular opinions, at least among my age group, is that like we're projecting our own issues, learning new technology on the kids. We're fucked up by social media because we don't know how to use it. And we fall into doom scrolling because we don't know how to block things. We don't know how to vet our sources very well because we've never had to. We're so used to, oh, the internet is trustworthy. I mean, I'm blown away by the same people who used to like, oh, Wikipedia is not trustworthy because anybody can edit it, are now like all in ChatGPT is awesome. I'm like, are you out of your
Yeah.
fucking mind? Do you not know how these two things work? Wikipedia, yes, anybody can edit it, and they have to give citations. It's like a
Yeah.
living academic paper.
Hmm.
ChatGPT doesn't know how to give citations.
I mean, I hate to like be depressing, but a lot of kids are similar to that. And it's like maybe
Okay.
there's more, I think a greater percentage of youth is more aware of like ChatGPT and the evils, but still it's like baffling. I like come across, you know, people who are like, oh, just ChatGPT it. And I'm just like, you can't Google it, you know? Like, you know,
Right,
like why just AI? And I think
right.
just a lot of kids are using
Machine learning.
ChatGPT.
Let's not call it AI. It doesn't deserve to be called AI. Machine learning. Large language models. And you know, I mean, what bothers me is there are values to large language models. In fact, one of
Hmm.
the things that large language models are best at is the one thing that we still, how many people are like, oh, don't use Google Translate? Google Translate is actually
Yeah.
relatively ridiculously good at this point. It's not
Yeah.
perfect. You can't program a perfect translation. It but large language models for translation is like exactly what they're designed for.
Yeah.
For solving problems, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, it
But
is
I guess what I
depressing.
meant was talk to me about how you vet your sources. How you go, oh, this is in my feed, but it feels dodgy versus this is
Hmm.
in my feed. I need to learn more. What do you click on? What do you not click on?
Yeah. I think AI, like certain like fonts and like drawings are like AI coded now. There are like
Okay.
certain drawing styles that are too neat or like that I've seen in enough AI generated posters that I'm like, oh, that's AI, you know? And you can kind of tell if you've seen enough AI content that I'm like, okay, this is AI.
But
Uh,
I'm sorry. I was
More
talking
like
more
sort,
in
oh,
terms of
okay.
getting your news information.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
how do you decide, oh, this meme is worth following up on, or I trust that this is just, I mean, and I say this
um,
because like the same people who bash social media have the tendency to like throw up the, hey, look at this 5 second video I saw that proves this point. And it's like, isn't that
yeah.
what you say the kids are doing that sucks?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is like who posts it. If it's an account that I know generally vets their sources and posts a lot and just like is not something that posts every single thing they see, then I'm more likely to trust it. Additionally, before I repost something that I think is dodgy, I'll Google it. And like if there's a bunch of news stories confirming it, then I'll be like, oh, okay, this is true. If there aren't, then I might not repost it on my own story because I'm just like, okay, well, I don't want to post something that might be fake. But I think just Googling something, like that you think might not
Right.
be true, you'll be able to see multiple different sources posting the same thing. And if it's like, okay, well, multiple different sources are posting this one thing, then it's a lot more likely to be true.
So this is where I'm going to translate for the boomer generation that might be listening. What she said is, if a poster, she means writer. So like a newspaper writer, if they've been right a lot in the past and you get to know them, they're often right again.
Yeah.
It's the same skills we used to use. It's just a new medium.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that was
basically.
really meant for, and I don't know if I have any of that sort of person actually listening because I make fun of them enough that they probably got tired of me a long time ago. Um, that wasn't supposed to be making fun of you. That was saying,
Yeah.
the kids today, they know how to vet things just the same
Oh,
way we vetted
absolutely.
things.
Yeah.
It's just different
We
things to
try.
vet.
We try. Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee not all kids, just like guess what? Not all adults.
Yeah.
Every time I hear people talking about like, oh, the kids today, and I'm like, oh, the 50 somethings today, says the guy pushing 50. Um,
Yeah.
okay. I promised more fun. So we hit on this a little bit before, but this time I want you to go more specifically using the books that were meaningful to you and why. Give me your comics biography, starting with like the first book you remember reading or buying, and kind of like the books that formed how you think about comics, what you think about when you're making comics, um,
Yeah.
what inspires you to make comics the way you make them, that sort of thing.
Um, can before I answer that, can I take 30 seconds to go to the bathroom? I don't
Oh,
know if that will like
absolutely.
mess up something. I promise
Yeah,
it'll be
well,
like easiest. But
well, I mean,
comics
obviously,
biography?
not editing is easiest, but yeah, comics biography.
Okay. Persepolis for one. It's just one of like the earliest comics I remember reading, one of the earliest graphic novels. And I also, not just in content, but in form, I really admire it. I think her use of like black and white is great, satrapi's. And just the use of like the stark contrast in lines and how she can convey so much while not necessarily doing something incredibly detailed or incredibly crowded, a lot of like the repetition and the motifs are just really powerful, and it's like less is more. And that, yeah, it just tells such a complete story. And it's just been something that I think has maybe subconsciously or consciously influenced me. Um, I think definitely Mouse, also content and form, uh, very inspiring, very moving. Like I am like you have to, if anyone's like, oh, should I read Mouse? I'm like, yes, you have to read it.
Yes,
It's
you
just
should
like
read
because
anything by
it's like one
Spiegelman.
of the but it's like also, yeah, it's like one of the comics that really made people who don't read comics see, oh, this is like actual literature, and I think that's really important. um I think one manga series I read in seventh grade was called King of Thorn. Definitely something I shouldn't have read because it was extremely violent. But it was really interesting. I don't know. I was just like,
Shouldn't have
it
read or maybe wasn't
wasn't
seventh grade
recommended.
appropriate.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it was just like very violent, dystopian, violent, but a lot of the imagery was really powerful. It was just like very. gory, and I think it like stuck with me.
I don't know this
Um,
one.
yeah, no, it's not very well known. I had to drop something esoteric, so people think I'm
I'm
cool.
all for esoteric.
Yeah. Um,
I'm all for I mean, we'll get to this in my next question, but like yeah, no, what's esoteric for one can be not for another and everything in between. It's what you like.
yeah,
That's cool. This actually looks, I'm just glancing at it. It looks kind of cool. I might have to
yeah.
track it down. Of course, it doesn't look like it's easily tracked down.
I just discovered it in my middle school library.
So you had a good a shout out to your middle school librarian.
Yeah. Um,
And clearly they didn't think that it was something that you shouldn't be reading.
yeah,
Either
that's
that or
true.
they didn't pay attention to what they bought. They
They
just went
didn't pay.
manga. Kids will like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that just because it was just very violent.
Yeah.
But
Well, but
I'm
this
sure
is the
kids my
United
age.
States. Violence is way more okay than sex. I've never
Well,
understood
yeah.
that. I've never understood
Hmm.
that. You
Well, I'm
know,
sure
I
kids
really
my
hope that my
age.
kids don't have to deal with violence in their life, but I also kind of hope that they have sex. So, like, why are we willing to expose them to tons of violence but not sex? Why are we willing to talk to them
It's
about
usually
violence but
both
not
though.
sex? Well, I mean,
Because I'm sure
sometimes.
kids my age were like were like watching porn. I think like most were.
Yeah. No, I
And
just
that's
mean
like very
like
violent.
my kids are older than you, and
Hmm.
like I would have more people look at me funny because I had watched a romance like a rom-com that had
Yeah.
sex in it with my kids than would look at me funny if I watched like a movie, you know, an action movie where 100 people were machine gunned to death.
Yeah.
And it's like, first of all, I know my kids, so like I'm not
Hmm.
exposing them to things that I think that they're not ready for. But second, like, why is this bad and this not bad when in reality we would really prefer to have way less shooting? And as
Yeah.
long as it's consensual, do we care about how much sex is had?
I hope not. Speaking of sex, though, another comic, one of the more recent, like modern comics I've read, has been Gina Winbrandt's "Someone Please Have Sex with Me," which
I love that book.
I read that last year. I really liked it. I actually like,
I bought
um,
that from Gina at Cake in 2019.
nice. Yeah,
Which was awkward. I'm sitting there going, Gina, please don't look at me as the dirty old man. But I've heard such great things about this book, and I'm looking forward. And I forget what she wrote in it, but it was funny and biting.
Yeah, I actually like used it last year to like do like I did a comics like strip in that style. Because I was like I just love like the way she makes fun of herself.
Yeah,
Because that's something I do a lot and I just think she does it so effectively and it was just really funny. I was like, yeah, like that is real, like that's so real. Um, and it's great. Very funny.
um, so that's a we've got Persepolis Mouse, King of Thorn, Someone Please Have Sex with Me, some Gina
Um,
Winbrand action.
oh, My Friend Dahmer.
Ah, Durf.
Yeah, so
You'll
I
get to
oh
meet Durf in Ohio.
that was also something that I read maybe younger than I should have because again, this was like in a library, not school library, but like over the summer, I'd like go to the library and
Right,
just read anything that was there. Just read
right,
all the comics that were there. And this
right.
was one and I was like, "Oh wow." It just like stuck with me. Um
We had Durf on.
and
Durf's a good guy.
yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
no, I
said,
think I read that at like 12.
you will meet Durf in Ohio, and like if you need an introduction, let me know, and I'll take you up and introduce you to Durf in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know he's tabling again this year. Last year was he's from the area. So last year he was just there
Yeah.
as a
A visitor?
spectator.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
just as a visitor. And like I was talking to him about it, he's like, yeah, I haven't been to a con just to be at a con for like 20 years. This is awesome.
Wow. Yeah, no, but that I really liked that book. I think I was just very into like I don't know, I read a lot
Have
of
you read his other works?
I've read a little bit of the Kent State shooting one, but I haven't finished it.
Kent State is great. I think my favorite is Trashed because
Mm,
Trashed he takes a similar to your I need to kill my boyfriend's college roommate. He was a garbage collector, but he doesn't tell an autobiographical story about garbage collecting. It's like inspired by his time
autofiction.
garbage. Yeah, auto fiction, with the lean towards fiction, but it's one part that and one part like nonfiction environmental stuff and learning about all the ramifications of the
Mm,
stuff. So you learn so
yeah.
much about garbage. And I know that that seems like not interesting, but again, autistic, I like learning about everything. But second,
No,
like
I think it's
environmentally,
interesting.
it's important.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, he's one of my
Hmm.
favorite nonfiction cartoonists.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I love
yeah,
nonfiction comics.
yeah. So I mean, you clearly like fiction as well. You brought up Saga, you brought up a couple others. Did you, well, you said you started with Asterisk and Tintin. So like when
Hmm.
did you discover nonfiction comics?
Well, I mean, Persepolis and Mouse were memoir
Right,
nonfiction comics. So
right.
I've been reading memoir comics for as long as I've been reading fiction, but I
Okay,
think my first nonfiction comics were like adaptations of theory books, like
okay.
like a comic adaptation of the Communist Manifesto.
Right.
Um, and lately I've been seeking out more nonfiction comics because I'm really interested in graphic essays and like kind of popularizing them because I think that it's a really good way to convey an idea to someone who doesn't know about it. Um,
Absolutely.
and
Have you read
oh,
any Nick Susanis?
I don't think so.
Um, he actually did his PhD thesis at Columbia as a comic.
Oh,
Um, it's called Unflattening. But he teaches comics and stuff out at I think San Francisco State.
oh, wow.
Um, I think that's his website. I just typed it rather
Cool.
than
Oh, thank
putting
you.
it in. Um, but he does he does a lot of
Oh,
graphic
yeah.
essays.
Sick.
Um,
Yeah.
and just, I mean, that website, spinweaveandcut.com for those listening, now that I've yeah, his new comic is his syllabi as a comic.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, no, I love that.
Um, oh, he did a due process one. I missed that one. Draw the line. You would appreciate Draw the Line.
Yeah, no, I can see his, I'll check
That
out
was
his
one of the
website
most
after this.
that was one of the most powerful comics of last year.
Oh, wow.
I have talked about that a lot. And it's kind of the flip side of what we've been talking about in terms of um rhetoric and actions. You know, it's
Hmm.
like let's say you're that privileged person and whatever, like, where is your line? What point do you say, oh, no, 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 no? And, and
Yeah.
is that in the rear view? And if it isn't, why the fuck not? You know, so, all right. So, final question is my favorite question to ask. Um, Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't really have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love that not enough other people have experienced, and you need them to because you want more people to talk about it with.
Um, so I really love the saga of Darren Shan. That is originally a prose like book series, but it's been adapted into a manga. I've read both. There are 12 books each. The one thing I don't like about the manga is that they whitewashed one of the characters, which I didn't know until I read the prose book. Um, but it's a vampire story, but the vampires are kind of non-traditional. They don't live forever. They don't have sparkling skin. They can't turn into bats. But it's kind of just this saga of a boy who gets thrown into this world, and it's YA, but it's a lot more serious than YA, you know. And I
I
think
mean,
I loved it.
honestly, YA is where some of the most
But
serious work is
it's
being done right now.
I mean the author doesn't really shy away from death or gore, and
Right.
it's not written like to be childish. And I've only ever met one other person who's read it. Um, so I think that, you know, I remember when I was 12, I would just like go online and like see comics people have made about it. And like that was the only way I could kind of connect with people who'd read it. And this is, I guess, this is just kind of selfish because I've just been, it was just like
No,
such a meaningful series to me when I was younger, like in middle
this is
school.
literally why I ask the question the way I ask it, is that like it could be an underrated thing, or it could be an obscure thing, or like when Nate Powell was on, the last time he was on, he said, I've been reading the current X-Men books. And I know that seems but I hang with nonfiction indie comic writers. It's not cool to read X-Men.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
so
Andrew
cool.
Iden talked about his tomato garden.
Mm,
So I'm like, okay, well,
okay.
I'll come
Yeah.
down to North Carolina and taste your tomatoes and we can talk about them.
Yeah. Well, the Saga of Dawn Sean.
I'm looking at it
Love
right
it.
now and
Don't watch
it
the movie. Don't watch the
don't
movie.
watch the movie.
You might see the movie. The movie is really bad. It just like butchers the whole series. Um, Bad movie adaptation. Just read the books.
Well, I'm not a movie guy, so you didn't have to worry. I
Okay.
mean, I watch like one movie a book a week for like my family does a Zoom where we talk about a
Oh,
movie every
fun.
week.
Okay.
Um, but often those are the only movies that I watch. So, and I thought Darren O'Shaughnessy rang a bell, but it doesn't because I'm looking at all of his other work and I don't
Yeah.
oh well, no, no, I don't think I recognize any of it, but I'm still on board, particularly if they wind up being audiobooks, because that's how I do most of my prose.
Mm,
Otherwise, I'll wind up doing the manga first, because
mm,
somewhere along the line, I just stopped doing prose as well. I
yeah.
mean, not like across the board. I recently read Barbara Kingsolver's um, Demon Copperhead, which was
Hmm.
another one of Andrew Iden's recommendations. And I started with the audiobook and then like got out of my car and needed to read more. And I really only do the audiobooks in the car. So like
Hmm.
it meant I had to pick up a book.
Yeah. I'm not
But
sure if the books are audiobooks. I mean, I've never read
yeah,
them
I
as
don't know.
audiobooks, but they might.
I'll have to look.
Yeah.
But it definitely looks cool. So I will let you know if I ever join that club, and then you can have another person to
Okay, okay, good,
talk
good.
about them with. Um,
Nice.
I mean, I'm not always a vampire person, but just looking at like the kind of the the basic stuff here, it seems like it's more likely to be up my alley than
Yeah.
some vampire stuff. So Darya, it has been a pleasure. You are welcome back anytime for any
Thank
reason.
you.
I just like talking comics with people. And I like talking with people that make me think. If I don't talk
Thank
to you or
you.
see you
Likewise.
before Ohio, well, we'll see each other there and hit me up for a cup of coffee or something.
Absolutely.
And don't skip karaoke night. Karaoke night is
I love
fun.
karaoke.
There
Absolutely.
there is an official karaoke after party at 6
Got it.
on
Okay.
Saturday night. Yeah.
I will be there.
Yeah. It's a blast. So and I might actually manage to get out of my comfort zone and actually participate rather than just watching this year.
Let's go.
Every year I try to convince myself that that's going to happen. So for 22 panels, this has been Darya Foroohar, and we will see you after the next page.